while she's using it, type of thing. I don't really run. Like I'll do a very light jog on the treadmill, and then Claire doesn't really run on the treadmill either. I just find it unnatural to run in one spot. I don't know why. If I'm running, I'm like, okay, I'm running and nothing's happening. Okay,
you're used to being chased.
I mean, yeah, I'm used to making progress somewhere, and I just.
Well, I like watching Netflix, but like if you're used to making progress, some of them actually have screens that will take you along a trail, so you can actually and they can even link up with like the elevation on your treadmill. Now, of course, it's going to be more expensive, but like it will increase and decrease the elevation on the treadmill in tune to the track.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah. And the screen moves through the trail, so like you can, run through Sweden or something if you want it.
Yeah, I've seen things like that for what is it? Not Potomac. What's the bike? Peloton. Yeah. Where it has the screen where as you're riding, you can ride through the streets of France or type of thing. Or
there's bike trainers now that do the same thing too. Like it's all a kit, right? Like they have a magnetic resistance, and then they lower and raise the bike wheel.
Do they have like VR goggles for these things yet?
I don't know. That'd be interesting to find out, though.
That would get a little sweaty.
Have you?
VR goggles are known for their ventilation.
So, Peloton. I think it's Peloton makes. They also make, and it's so creepy. Every time I see the commercial, it's so creepy. But they could make a full-length mirror. That it's actually
I've seen that.
It's an LCD screen that links up with a trainer and with other people, and you can kind of see the other people in the background. And the trainer looks at everybody in the class and like helps. It's like having a trainer there with you, except it's in the mirrr.
Mm-hmm.
That mirror.
Business model. Sorry, go ahead.
All I can see is somebody like, I don't know, Troy, who's good with like, programming, being like, do. Okay, well, let's put a little piece of malware on there. Okay, let's see what you're doing. Just like you hack a webcam, you hack a Peloton machine, and it's like, okay, well, now I have a full view of what's going on in your household with that mirror that's right there.
Yeah.
That creeps me out a bit.
So what's weirder to me is like their entire business model is like, I'm going to charge you $3,500 and $100 a month for me to scream at you while you're riding a stationary bike. It's okay, fine, cool, but still, it's just like, huh.
So with the model that Keith's actually talking about, the trainers are actually independent of the company.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And a lot of people need like a trainer. They need somebody to be like, okay, let's go, come on. And motivation to get people moving.
Put down that plate of nachos. Let's go.
Come on, Rob, put down your nachos.
They're delicious.
Quit hitting the nacho button.
They are pretty cool too,
buttons.
And they're actually really sophisticated as well. Like they tell you a lot about the people that are doing the exercises too.
No, it's cool. It's just expensive, and just looking at those things, like holy crap.
Not the specific one that you're talking about. I know what one you're talking about. There's one that's meant to be like you can also do. It has like cables on it, so you can do like bench press and stuff on it, and it can like apply tension over time. So like at the lowest peak of the bench press, it wouldn't be as strong, but as you push, it gets harder and harder, kind of deal. It could also it'll be able to tell like what your like PRs are, like how strong you are in certain ways, where you're messing up your form, stuff like that. They're pretty neat.
So it's a stationary bike that has like what was wrong with having a couple different machines? I just feel like if you start like, okay, it's a bicycle / waffle maker / you can do a bench press. I mean, it's going to it's going to stop doing some of those things well, right? I mean, like there's a reason why all-in-ones aren't really as popular as they used to be.
Well, I think it's a space thing, though, too.
It is, absolutely.
Yeah.
Nobody has a space to create their own home gym.
Like I have an Instapot. I don't also have a rice cooker. Like,
it's funny.
space.
My Instapot is only used to cook rice. I don't know how to cook. I don't know.
So it's a rice cooker.
It's just a rice cooker.
So for my button on my desk, it would be specifically. Well, it would be. It's from a restaurant that's in Toronto. I don't know if it's anywhere else, but there's a couple of them in Toronto, and it's called Scaramouche.
Scaramouche.
And it is butternut squash ravioli. So their butternut squash ravioli is so good. Every time, like whenever Claire went to Toronto on business or whatever, something like that, she would buy an order of them, put it into a cooler so that she could bring it home to me. as well as having like her own. It is so good.
I wonder if DoorDash could help with that. Just like deliver it that far. I wonder if DoorDash is skip,
from Toronto. It's a lot of money. There's a place in Kingston here called Go Italian, which does an all right. Butternut squash ravioli, but just it's not as good as Scaramouche. We went to go see Kevin Smith reboot, Jay and Silent Bob reboot. We went to go see that and his stage show and stuff. Stayed in a hotel and went to Scaramouche across right across the street from the Sky Dome, which was funny because a game let out, like a Jays game let out, and then a Maple Leafs game let out as well. So the streets were just covered with people in blue. It was just really funny. But speaking of points for Weight Watchers, when we did our calculation, just on the appetizer and the meal, which was like a soft mozzarella type of thing for the appetizer, and then the ravioli, I think mine was 187 points.
Oh God!
Just for that meal was 187 points. Now, if you think of like a higher end meal for me at least, like a high point meal is usually about 15 to maybe 20 points, if that. A McDonald's cheeseburger,
33 points a day. to give it a sense of scale.
Yeah, I get 40. I get 38 points a day, and then I have 32 weekly points. So like add additional points.
This busted you wide open.
Yeah,
points wise.
It killed me for the week.
Couldn't eat for a month.
It was worth it. It killed me for the week, but it was worth it.
You got to wait sometime.
Yeah. So how many carrots is that? Just to give us perspective.
So many Montanas would cut you off.
Oh wow! All right, that's a lot of carrots.
Like you're eating there, some guy from Montana just shows up. Like there's now a shortage. We need these.
Sorry, we now have a swine shortage, so I'm sorry. We're gonna have to take some of that back. Wait, what?
Yeah, we haven't shut down our store for our Montanas for a week now. Thanks to you. Thanks, guys. Appreciate that.
Delicious.
Which is really funny.
No regret.
Because the Montanas in London, both Montanas in London that I've eaten at a couple of times, I hated them. Like they were gross.
They're not great.
I wouldn't say they're gross. They're not great.
Not great. I wouldn't. Yeah, I wouldn't go as far as say gross.
I would say gross.
Austin pizza.
McDonald's is gross. They're like.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's
I'll point of view, I guess. But the one in Kingston is actually really good.
Montana's?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not bad.
It's better than London. Like, I hated going to Montana's entirely in London. Here, I'm like, well, you want to go to Montana's? Yeah, sure, let's go to Montana's.
So there's Montana's by Victoria Hospital, and that's the one that kind of central to everyone. And Laura and I went there once, and I was this is actually right after I had been diagnosed with high blood pressure, so I was trying to cut back on salt. So I asked the waitress if I see the menu, just kind of the nutritional content, just trying to be good about it. And she said, "Oh, okay. Any dietary restrictions?" Like, "Oh, I'm just trying to cut back on salt." She's like, "Oh, okay." So I pretty much that means you can eat like a steak and some vegetables. Like, oh, okay. So I ordered a 6 ounce whatever steak and just vegetables on the side. She comes back with it and says, "Okay, and just so you know, I understand you're trying to cut back on salt, so I asked the chef not to season it." I'm like, "What the fuck?" but she's trying to be nice. So I tried eating. Have you ever eaten like a steak with no seasoning on it?
Yes.
I've had steak without seasoning on it, but it did have salt on it.
There was no salt on it.
And there was a reason why I ate it that way, is because it was A5 Wagyu and I wanted to taste the Wagyu, but...
This was not A5 Wagyu. This was, it was a $24 piece of shoe leather, but...
Yeah, no thanks.
Yeah. So I didn't. So I just shut my mouth about sodium in restaurants now around servers. You know, like yeah. She meant well. We still tipped, but still, I was like, don't make those assumptions.
That would suck.
Yeah. But, you know, because I've lost weight, I don't need to cut back on salt as much anymore. And if you're just like Weight Watchers, it's kind of hard to watch salt and, you know, do a diet at the same time. So at least that's what I tell myself. I keep a salt lick in my room now.
It's called Laura.
That's my button. That is my button.
No, I lost. I think I lost 30.
Come here.
I think I lost 30 pounds at my most loss.
Nice.
But I've gained a bunch of it back over Christmas and everything else. I was just like, that's great. Yeah, all the cookies, all the freaking cookies. I've gained a bunch of it back, but hopefully once we move, it's harder to get out when it's freezing cold outside.
Oh, yeah.
It is.
Once spring rolls back around, it'll be really nice. There's a place in Kingston that is somewhat popular.
Somewhat.
But it's called Lemoyne Point, and they have 5 different walking trails through this like park area. One of them goes right along the water, and then there's other ones as well. Different varying levels of intensity, and only 2 of them you can ride your bike on. Everything else is walking. So we always like going like down those trails, and that's nice.
I'm pretty sure everyone bikes everywhere in there.
No, there's certain ones you can't really bike on. Like when you go down by the water, sometimes the ground is so mushy.
Oh, I've seen bikes down there.
Well,
they just have the fat tires.
Okay, well I'm gonna bring my my book with me, and I'm taking license plate numbers as well.
Okay.
Well, yeah, on bikes.
But Parrots Bay is pretty good too.
Parrots, you know, parrots up there. You barely have people. Parrots Bay, Jesus.
You barely have people. Oh yeah, we got a variant. We got one of the British variants here in Kingston. Huh? What?
Why would you brag about that?
I don't know. We don't have people.
Have you heard about the South African variant?
Oh, apparently that one really kicks people's ass.
Haven't heard of that.
Yeah, apparently the antibody,
It'd be COVID variants, just so you're aware.
Right. The antibodies, etc., don't really apparently work as well on it. They're worried about the vaccine.
Although Moderna did come out and say that that their vaccine still helps to fight against both the British and the South African variant.
Yeah, but Fauci, I saw Fauci on news today. He said there were in the test tubes. I guess in the test tubes. I guess that's right. They are seeing less positive reaction, or whatever his terminology. Obviously, I don't know. I'm not an epidemiologist, but you know what I mean. That's
hey,
not great.
Aren't you? Aren't you? I thought you were.
Only part time, Keith. I don't want to.
Oh, okay.
Just
As a hobby.
Yeah, I'm a hobbyist.
He only plays one on his OnlyFans, okay?
Yeah. Yeah.
You're like, can you cough into this petri dish, please, sir?
Know it.
here's the thing, though. Like, so like a flu vaccine. The flu vaccine is generally pretty effective, and that's only about 50-60% effective. This whole Moderna and Pfizer being like 95% effective, that's like an anomaly for like a vaccine. Most vaccines are not that good. So even if it drops the effectiveness, I don't think they have the actual numbers just yet, but if it's like in the 60s or 70s or even 50s, it's still considered an effective vaccine. And it's not you flip a coin, because even if you get sick, you still have some of the antibodies